Back in the day, I had this friend named Isaac Kappy. He was kind of a weirdo, but he was a really good guy, and, you know, by the standards of my cohort at least, he was a super talented guy. Here's a little clip of him doing his thing way back in 2013. Over time, our lives moved in different directions. He took his shot at Hollywood, and I rolled the dice with academia. And before I knew it, 5 or 6 years had passed without hearing from him at all. Truth is, I barely thought about him. And once he started hanging out with the likes of Paris Jackson, well, he probably didn't think about me very much either. But then one day, in May 2019, I got word from a mutual friend that Isaac had jumped to his death from a highway bridge in Arizona. Within a few days, I sort of figured out what happened. Sorta. You see, back in 2017, someone calling themselves Qanon had begun posting conspiracy theories on a chat site known as 4chan, claiming that their information was valid because they supposedly had Q-level security clearance in the highest levels of government bureaucracy. The cryptic posts, known as Q drops, spoke of an incomprehensible array of horrible atrocities that were supposedly being committed by politicians and bureaucrats at the highest echelons of national power. I'm not sure how one could possibly make sense of it all, but a lot of the messaging centered around the idea that the elite as a whole, that is the mostly liberal political elite as well as the economic and cultural elite, including wealthy barons like the billionaire George Soros and pretty much everyone in the film and music industries, had essentially become a secret society of devil-worshipping sexual predators who kidnapped children and drank their blood. It all sounded pretty appalling. But for those who drank this cutesy Kool-Aid, there was hope. President Trump, whom many QAnon followers believed to be Q in the flesh, was soon going to save the day. There was going to be a great storm, and Trump was going to round up all those nasty, terrible elites, like the Clintons, the Pelosi's, the Schumers, and also all of those Tom Hanks and Matt Damons. And he was going to toss them all into a deep, dark dungeon where they would rot away forever because he'd throw away the key. Now, by 2019, when my old friend Zach jumped from that highway bridge in Arizona, the QAnon movement had already grown into hundreds of thousands of people. And Isaac wasn't just one among them. He had become a significant influencer behind the movement itself. A QAnon shaman, if you will. Using what fame he had acquired as an aspiring actor and a musician to spread the terrifying prophecies of that mystical deity known as Q. And he got to be pretty big in that world, all said and done. He was even interviewed on the Alex Jones show twice.
But bottom line, without getting into all the names, what's the data dump? If you had 5 minutes on national TV, which this is, millions are tuned in right now, millions will watch later. What is the data dump of your experience, what you saw, what they said?
Sure.
You were going to break. People that just joined us. So go back to that. You were talking about Pizzagate to this girl, you know, this other Hollywood actress, and then all of a sudden she goes, oh, and then what happens next?
All right, here's the data dump, okay? Let's just be really concise about it. Seth Green, at his house, after a party, we were all kind of drinking, pulled back a secret bookshelf and said to me, "This is where we keep the children."
But the thing about the world of conspiracy theories is that it is little more than an ever-expanding labyrinth of insanity. It's a world where crazy people find truth and where sane people become crazy. Now, I don't know if my old friend Isaac was crazy before he fell down that rabbit hole of QAnon conspiracy theories, or if he became crazy as a result. But just before his death, he published a video testimony in which he suggests it may be the latter.
Don't get so focused on the monsters out there that you become one yourself and you let the darkness seep in. Because, guys, once I found out about fucking Pizzagate, I was literally guys, I put thousands of hours into this. Thousands of hours. Like, easily thousands of hours. But what happened? You know? I became so focused with the externalizations of evil that I did not find the evil within and focus on the light.
Pizzagate, by the way, was a 2016 conspiracy theory about a supposed child sex ring being based out of a little pizza parlor in Washington, D.C. It was debunked after someone shot the place up trying to save all the sex slaves being hidden in the basement, only to discover that the place didn't have a basement. My point is, there are only two places on Earth where people can spend literally thousands of hours researching something. That's the library and the internet. And believe me, there has never been a mass political movement composed of people who spend thousands of hours at the library. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that, one, Isaac may have always been crazy, but the advent of internet-based social media certainly made things worse than it otherwise would have been. And two, well, that same internet-based social media hasn't just made a few among us a little more crazy than usual. It has upended our entire political system. And it has done this by filling our brains with too much information to channel or to make sense of, so that we choose to embrace ideas that feel true rather than those that are actually supported by facts. And out of boredom, anxiety, or plain addiction, we allow ourselves to get pulled down endless rabbit holes, the direction of which is not determined by our own rational minds, but by computer algorithms designed only to turn us into more aggressive consumers. And as a consequence of all this, we have increasingly clung to ideas that just a decade ago would have seemed insane. Ideas that elevate our own identities and actions to a plane of unquestioned virtue and nobility, while relegating the identities and actions of others to the realm of evil, of the demonic, the apocalyptic. Our political opponents are now existential threats, not only to our political system, but to all that is good and true, to all that sustains life on Earth. And this, of course, means that this fight is the ultimate fight, the one in which no holds can be barred. For if our side doesn't win now, no matter what the cost, everything will be lost, and forever. In other words, this is the foundational ethos of populism. I guess what I'm trying to say is this. 20 years ago, we believed that the internet was going to save democracy. Now it looks like it's one of the biggest threats to our democracy, here and all around the world, as well as to our personal happiness and to our ability to get along with each other more generally. I think my friend Isaac might have come to that conclusion too, although perhaps a little bit late. But what do you think? I'm Professor Isaac Kappy, and this is Populism and Democracy in the Americas Online.
Broken were the soles of my shoes, and all my time was spent with you. When I had it all, I was always playing the fool, laughing for hours, drinking whiskey and sneaking into public pools. Where did it go? When paying the rent was a miracle. We didn't know how good we had it then.
Maybe I'll be back later. I love you. Take care, okay?